Oh, we're live.
We are live. That count.
Welcome, everybody.
Whoop, whoop.
Episode 24 of Digital Cypha Podcast. It's me, the Don CJG, today
Nice.
as your lovely host. And we have two dear friends, Diazaz and Ebonics, with me today. How you doing, boys? How you doing?
Great.
What is up, man? Don CJG, thank you for the intro. Oof.
Of course.
Man, that countdown was deceiving, I tell you.
Oh yeah, definitely on my end.
That
I was
countdown.
like, really?
Yeah, so your bro has more work to do with that countdown. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, don't hate the brother, just hate the game. What is going on? What is going on? It's been a week, hasn't it been?
It's been a long week. It's been a long week.
Oh man, we got topics. Everything from conniving people to people saying that they want to do something different to, people changing up the game in their development plans to, people, just doing XP, what was it, FPS boost, well, other people can't, but say they can't. It's just people. So,
People doing things.
people doing
not
big things. What have you been up to, Don?
Me this week, man. It's been a lot of sleeping. It's been a lot of working. It's been a lot of researching. I played a game what no one's heard of. I guarantee you.
What is that game?
Yoku and Yuki's Revenge against Dr. Rat. Something like that.
Where do you find this stuff, bro?
Game Pass, that's where.
I
Yeah.
know, but
No, not
still,
even Game Pass.
you gotta be digging. You gotta be digging in Game Pass to find this stuff.
Listen, I have my sources. Don't worry.
Look, you listen. You don't say listen.
I
Awesome.
have my resources.
Okay. What about you, Dom? Deal?
Just work. A lot of big project that we're going on right now. Stocks in my crypto in particular have been doing very well.
Nice.
Hopefully everyone else has been investing also and doing well as well.
Yo, it's been interesting,
Yes,
especially
sir.
with the NFTs and stuff like that, man. It's just been nonsense. So
Oh my god.
I'm gonna leave that to a different discussion. That's like yo, we need to have a podcast that's just talk about everything else digital.
All right.
I'm telling you. But for anyone new to the podcast, this is a gaming centric podcast. So you're gonna be hearing a lot of things, some opinions and some things that are going on in the industry that you just wanna learn about. So awesome. Don CJG, what you got for us this week?
Okay. Oh, I know you said you wanted to start the show off with some happy news. I don't really have any.
Man, I thought you said breaking news.
So-
What's going on with you, son?
Yeah, there is some breaking news today. So there was a little an article that came out about, I'm gonna say 2-3 days ago, to do with Halo Infinite, and this came out on a website called Reset Era, which I believe is a gaming forum website. And this kind of was a brief translation from Mandarin from a website called Bilibili. And this video was posted by Eric Lin, who is a former artist at 343 Industries. So they're working on Halo Infinite.
Okay.
And this video kind of talked about their time there at the studio. And they've left now. And the translation was very kind of vague, and it was very only partial, because the video itself was like 15 minutes long. And they only took a few small points out of it, and basically that Reset Era forum post basically said the game was being overambitious and content had to be cut. They were saying that the game engine is basically not ready and it just needs a lot of work. And they're also saying that the dev was glad to be out of 343 Industries because of the quote-unquote crunch culture there, which when you look at it on paper, from those words, that sounds quite horrible and negative
Yeah.
towards 343 and Halo. It's a bit worrisome, and this kind of story was floating around the internet a little bit for a few days. And upon first glance reading it, I was like, okay, is this another inflammatory story going around on Halo Infinite again, or is there some truth to this? And this morning, for me, there was a video what was posted on the same website, Bilibili, which is like a Chinese version of YouTube, by Eric Lin, same guy who posted the original video, and he was a bit upset that the news media was spinning the story in a very negative light about what he was saying. Because you can imagine if you're a developer and you've come out in a platform like YouTube when you're speaking out about your time at a studio, and it's suddenly very taken very negatively. You can imagine what your future prospects in another company, are people going to trust you? You know what I mean?
Very true.
Out here trash talking. So he said, let me clarify what I'm talking about here, because it's a bit misleading what media sources are saying compared to what he actually said. And he put this video in English, so it's very clear to everybody. Listen, let's not mess about with this one. So he seemed like a really cool dude, and he was, he kind of broke down what the media were saying from what he said in his original video, and I'll kind of break it down here as for a couple of points. The game being overly ambitious and content being cut. He kind of described this as to, you look at every form of media within entertainment, would that be music, movies, TV, video games, things get cut eventually, But yeah, whether the game grows or the vision slightly change. That was the case here. It wasn't that the game got too big and they had to, scale back. That wasn't really the case. It's just that some things didn't fit what the game was going to be, and it got cut out. As it just happens. Same with movies. I think he used an analogy from Revenge of the Sith, and there was the scene with Yoda what got cut out, and this guy was, he's begging George Lucas, keep it in, but if it didn't fit what the movie was going for, then it gets cut out. And I'm sure that happens with every game studio. But just because people want to shine this in a negative light, Halo Infinite's getting cut, such and such. So that was that. As for the game engine not being ready, you could, we look at Slip Space, I believe, the engine for Infinite, and this is something what's brand new, right? They've been using the Havoc engine since I think Halo 1 all the way to now. So Slip Space is something completely brand new, and it's being developed as we speak, and you kind of put it down to, hey, look, don't look at this as the engine not being capable, because it is, and it's being updated every day, and it's making huge progress and leaps. But just because it's something new, and doesn't mean that it's not going to be ready.
Yeah.
I think he used an analogy of, look at Unreal 4, right? Even though they've announced Unreal 5, they're still updating 4.
Right.
And for him being glad to be out of 343 Industries, I think this is something that really led to the idea that 343 are under crunch, which he said isn't really the case. And there's a lot of opinions out there on the internet saying that the game's being rushed too. I know there's a lot of vocal people in the community who are a bit like, they don't trust 343 at this point. But he said, like, he said he's had an amazing time working on Infinite. He's had a great time at 343 in general, and there isn't really a crunch culture there. He said that he kind of put it down to, as being an artist, when you have these moments of this creative flow, you don't want to necessarily break your, your flow of work by doing something else or quitting or stopping. So it's not necessarily crunch, but he's more so that he's motivated to keep going, even though he's basically working overtime, But people are putting this negative spin for saying, oh, he's putting in loads of extra hours, such and such, he's working till midnight or whatever. But it's not that he doesn't want to, it's not that he's even forced to, it's more he's doing it because he wants to. And his main message kind of was, don't judge the entire studio, the entire project as a whole from one person's experience,
Yeah.
And I think people really kind of misconstrued what he said originally, and they're putting this entire negative spin on Halo Infinite and 343 and potentially Microsoft as a whole, that hey, look, this game's gonna be, you know, not up to the expectation of people want, just because of these false kind of accusations that are going out there.
So
Yeah.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say like I can't definitively say that there's no crunch culture there, right? Because none of us work there, none of us have been in
Yeah.
that atmosphere. But I kind of find it a little hard to believe that it's very severely done, anyways, because they've already pushed back the game, and it's not even like an official release date, correct?
Yeah, no, it's not.
So
they just said fall this year.
Yeah, exactly. So to me, like, could things like that happen? Sure, of course, but I think it's more like how he's saying, like, people do it out of the love, or maybe it's just like getting caught up at work as opposed to being forced to do it. Maybe,
Yeah.
If they had a hard date, then I could maybe see that going on. But because of the fact that it's still a vague date, and who knows, they could even push it back further if they had to, right?
Yeah, 100%. That's kind of their messaging the whole time. It's like, hey, look, we want this game to be out when it's ready.
Exactly. So I don't know. I think people did take his words out of context. Sorry, Box.
No, you good. So it's interesting. Don, what is it that he does specifically?
I believe he is a skybox artist, and I think he's kind of dipped his hands in some other bits over there too.
Okay, so he's kind of like a he's communicating with the developers and the designers to create the ultimate sky, the same sky that we looked at and we was like, yo, some of the Asian community might enjoy seeing the night sky, the day sky, and how it's very dynamic and lush in some sense.
Yeah.
Right. So it looks like he was involved in some of that that piece of work, development and artistry, if you will. My thing about it is, why say something now? Like, when did he leave?
I don't think he mentioned when he left. To be fair, but I think it was just one of those videos he put up for people asking questions. He wanted to kind of just talk about it.
Okay, because my question again is why now, right? Why is he voking, and why is he being very vocal about that? His original video, why did he speak on that in those kind of terms, right? Yeah. And then having to then backtrack and then create like an apology statement for what was said and what he meant, because it's been misconstrued, because then the industry is taking it to a different light. Like you said, if he's looking for a job elsewhere, they're going to turn back to that video in Chinese, I would assume, or Japanese, I'm not sure which one it was, but
Mandarin, yeah.
Mandarin, okay. Yeah. And then say, hey, we got issues with the way you handled your employment with 343. And it's not that it's 343. It's that it's an Xbox studio. I mean, it's a Microsoft studio, Microsoft Game Studio. Yeah. It's going to be very hard. Not for him, but it's going to be hard for people who are trying to be vocal about certain things, that they choose their words wisely, because now Xbox is not the Xbox of 2013. You know what I'm saying? So if people are looking for partnerships, that means the studios and people within the studios have to be mindful of what they say, because they're held underneath some form of contract, NDA, or even just personal opinion can shift under a decision. So that's why I'm asking, like when did he get out and why speak about it now? Because that's kind of, I think those situations would give us an idea of why he spoke about it that way. But yeah, man, interesting, very interesting. What else you got?
mean,
Go ahead.
Not to keep jabbing at this guy, but I mean, you said he was like a sky designer.
Yeah. Skybox.
But like more on like the artist side of it, right? Like not like any like coding or programming. So I mean, not to downplay what he does, but I mean, how how much crunch time would someone in that position really have to do? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I see that more on like the developer side or like the management side, and if you're coding and you're doing stuff like that, I could totally see crunch
Well,
time coming up.
the Skybox deals with. I wouldn't. Well, I can't say yes or no, but I believe that the
Yeah, like
Skybox
I
deal
can't
with.
say for sure, but I just can't see it being as bad, right?
Well,
Oh yeah, for sure. I think
because
that, yeah, I think every bomb has their own element of crunch, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I think his job is more in tune with the development side than the creative side. Because
Okay.
is he like a lead Skybox designer, like a person who's head of.
I don't think he's a lead per se.
So okay, all right, so I'm gonna just say it this way. When you're dealing with a Skybox, when we talk about day and night cycles, the transitionings, and how the clouds are moving, and if I must say, because I'm a fan of sakura petals flowing into the air and the whole nine, you know what I'm saying? Like the immersive feel, like of how the sky and the ground and the lighting for the ocean, like everything must match. You know? Now the Skybox has some form of code technicality to it. If
course.
but being that it's a slip space engine, we don't know. My reference is Unreal Engine, and that can be done purely from behind. Like you can do it on the UI, right? So there's just different aspects, different engines do much. We can't say, but what we in this podcast have understood is crunch time is a normal thing for the game industry. It is not new. It is kind of like you're going into this job, you're going to have crunch time. So it seems to me that this guy has a personal bout with someone, or maybe his department, or maybe the managing aspect of it, and it's not just 343. You know what I'm saying? If he left, because I'm looking at some of these other guys who are kind of like dealing with agencies, they're temp and they're trying to get that full-time job. And they're like, hey, if you want to get into the business, you just do whatever you can to get in, and then you make yourself known for what it is that you do. Like it's gonna take some time, definitely, but if you came in for sound design and then you ended up being like, the it factor for everything, audio, you're talking for recording, for voiceovers, for script, for design, you know what I'm saying? Because all things, like, regardless of what you do, everything impacts the other parts of your game.
Oh yeah.
So it's, you get what you gotta get to get in. He's probably already in position. I'm just wondering, is like, how does this paint a
like
better
a power move or something, right?
how does this paint a better picture for people who are on that mindset, like, I'm gonna get in, I don't care how I get in or what I do to get in? Not like, not like Hollywood where you gotta, do some vile stuff, but like, I would be the Starbucks boy getting your coffee. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, to go first.
To get in, so yeah, it's tough, and I'm not speaking on behalf of anyone. I'm just trying to understand the concept of why now, like, and with his position, why now do that when the game is going to get released and there's so much hype behind it. What is his alternative motive for speaking out now? He could have done so when we're talking about the quality of what was it, the ogre or whatever his name was, what I don't know what the name is. Don, you know what it is. The face was all low quality and that couldn't be the next.
Greg the Brute.
Yeah,
the Brute.
He could have done it then. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. It is what it is. Other than that, what else you got for us, Don?
Let's see here. We have Activision have confirmed that Sledgehammer Games are committed for a 2021 release for the new World War II style Call of Duty game.
Okay.
This was actually like on the ropes for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
People were very kind of skeptical if there would be a 2021 Call of Duty, just because of you're looking at the whole COVID situation, and they're bringing in the game to the new I can't remember the name of the engine is exactly, but there's the whole like Modern Warfare engine.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of bringing that World War II onto that, and it's going to integrate into Warzone. People were kind of thinking it's a lot of work, considering Sledgehammer, I think they were taken off the development line for Call of Duty for a minute or two there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what happened. So now they've reconfirmed it back on. There was a lot of kind of skepticism towards if they'd make that deadline, but apparently they're committed to bring it out. So we should be interesting to see how that works out in the end. And other than that, there's some bigger overarching topics, but I'm sure we'll talk about, such as the PS5 redesign and
Okay. Yep.
the crossplay between Sony and that whole
Yeah, we'll
debacle.
get into that. Yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Hey Dio, when so I'm a allow you to speak, but once you're done, then we start talking about that crossplay on PS4. I'm gonna let you introduce that, okay?
Okay.
All right. So what have you been going through this week?
Well, I've been playing a lot of World of Warcraft again, like we were talking before, and because of that, like I've been getting more engrossed in their news, and it's been kind of disappointing because, in a way, it's nice that we know we have a launch date for the Burning Crusade expansion coming for Classic WoW, but it's very soon, I think, for most people, because usually before a big expansion in World of Warcraft in their culture, you want a good pre-patch. Whereas usually like a good month or two, so people get caught up, so they're ready to go to the next expansion, or like people who are returning to the game, just pretty much like a good catch up. And not only that, they usually have like an event going on during that time, so it gives people, even players who are old and who stuck with the game, time to do that pre-patch content. And it's announced for June 1st, and the pre-patch is going to be on the 18th of May. So that's like 2 weeks of pre-patch, which is not the norm. A lot of the player base is pretty disappointed about that. It really doesn't give them a lot of time to enjoy the pre-patch. As weird as that sounds, like you would think that people are very excited to do the new content, or like at least the new expansion, but that pre-patch really is a good core of gameplay that people were looking forward to.
So explain pre-patch for someone who's not really knowledgeable on what that would be. My only thought process would be, if I, me playing Final Fantasy 14, if I beat the first expansion, right? And then there's all these different patches in between to lead up until the next expansion that is set to be released. I'm assuming that's what it is, or is the
pretty much, yeah.
Okay. So what will be the pre-patch for WoW and the Burning Crusade? Like, how is
so
that?
The pre-patch is going to have an event where in the Burning Crusade you had this thing called the Dark Portal, where the Burning Legion, which is this like demonic army, is trying to invade Azeroth, which is the world in World of Warcraft. And what you do during the pre-patch is that you're trying to block it, so when the new expansion comes out, you go through the portal to take the fight to them.
Got you.
And that's what you're doing during this pre-patch. And during this pre-patch also, like I said, like even for returning players or new players, it gives them a chance to kind of level up faster. Like they're increasing the experience gain. They're introducing 2 new races that people can level up from level 1 to get caught up to other people who are level 60. So it is really disappointing. They're giving most people like only 2 weeks. And then not only that, I mean, like even just planning wise, right? Like let's say, I would say most of the player base who do play Classic or want to play the Burning Crusade Classic are the older, folks who've played the original. I think there are some new players who do enjoy it, but for the most part, it's, the older crowd. So the older crowd has jobs, so I think a lot of us would want to take like a week or maybe 2 weeks off from work, have a little vacation. Like, hey, wifey, I love you, I love the kids, but I need a week to myself, and this is kind of not enough time to give most people with a proper job that, you know, time to tell their boss and loved ones. Yeah, you know what I mean?
And a week is a lot too. That's like your Christmas vacation right there.
But yeah, I mean, there's some people who do it, you know. So it's just kind of disappointing that, and I would even say in the aspect of building up hype, right? Like, I think when you look at most games, they wait like a few months or even a year to build up that hype, right? And I don't think they gave adequate time even for that. You know, like they didn't give enough people like beta access or
but it's not like a gradual momentum. It's more just here it is in 2 weeks. You know, you're not getting that kind of slow hype train, that kind of energy build.
Yeah, because I mean, even with Classic, they gave up beta to like a lot of big streamers. I mean, whether you know you like these streamers or not, I mean, but they had people like Ninja, right? Ninja is known for Fortnite, but he still played Classic during the beta and then a little bit when it launched. Yeah, and obviously that brought people to watch it and come into the game. And they did none of that kind of stuff for this, so it's just so weird how the marketing team just really dropped the ball in that respect.
Got you.
But my biggest gripe, I would honestly say, even more than that, I mean that's disappointing. But what's really upsetting is the price point. So if you're already subscribed, I mean you don't have to worry about buying an expansion, which is great. You know, that's good. That was, you know, good on their part. But they're offering little services which didn't exist in those days, right? Like, I mean, microtransactions and like game stores weren't really a thing back in the early 2000s in most games, right?
Right.
And they've added a lot of stuff. I mean, one example is like they had this big package deal that's like $70, and it doesn't really even include all the other services within that $70 bundle. I mean, you still have other things like, you know, the Dark Portal Pass, which is pretty much a character boost. That's $40 on its own. And then you have the character clone, where what most players who are going to play for free are going to have two choices. Do I want to move my level cap character from Classic to Burning Crusade and then, you know, not have that character in Classic anymore? Or will I just start leveling a new character in Burning Crusade? So the workaround for this is that they're offering a character clone, which is $40, or no, not 40. I think it was 30. Yeah, 35. So with the cloning, you know, you get to keep your character in both sides, which is nice, but
the progression side of it is kind of weird.
Yeah, it's just that it just feels like this should have been something that should have been free, maybe for your first character, and maybe you pay for it for the second character or whatever. It just feels like they're really milking it, and I mean most of the community just feels this way as well. Like it's almost like they're devaluing the game. It's like they're trying to get the upfront money and not be worried about, like, you know, the continual revenue they're gonna get as long as they keep their player base. I think this is just gonna invite a lot of casual players who will drop their money down in the beginning and then just end up leaving the game anyway. Where the hardcore players are the ones who are hurting the most from this, because they're gonna pay for these services too, but they're gonna be upset about it, and eventually it's gonna burn them out, you know. And I mean, the proof is in the pudding, you know. I mean, I hate to say this about them, but an article came out where Blizzard has lost 29% of its player base in the last 3 years.
Oh
wow, that's basically 10% every year, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, revenue is up 7% though, which is good. I mean, that's what, you know. That's what shareholders want to see, right? But I mean, you could only continue that deficit for so long, right? I would imagine. Right. You keep losing players, you're going to lose money eventually. So, I mean, I would even argue probably revenue being up. I mean, that just might be just inflation right there. I don't know.
True. Yeah, you're wondering, like, you know, can you keep that balance of losing players but keeping your revenue up eventually? Like, it's going to catch up on you. So
yeah,
it's you know, it's all well having player retention, but you gotta look after those people too, man.
I would say, like, the sadder part of that, I mean, when you think about it, like in the context of just hearing it like that, is like, oh, okay, that's really sad. But we're in a pandemic right now, right? I think most of the gaming industry has seen upticks and crazy rise in, like, you know, player base, where Blizzard, and this includes Activision. Blizzard Activision as a whole has lost 29% of its player base. So that's, I don't know, that's pretty crazy news to me. And I mean, when I see the decisions like this, it makes sense.
Yeah, I do wonder like what number that 29% equates to.
Oh, it's definitely millions of players.
Yeah, it's got to be a really big number.
Yeah, 'cause I mean,
It's
World of
gotta
Warcraft
be
on its own, like I think peaked at one point at 26 million, I think, or something like
Jeez.
that. So I mean, if you're including all of Activision and Blizzard's,
Yeah, we're underneath that umbrella.
yeah,
It's
just
gotta
that
be a
umbrella,
giant
it's
number.
crazy. Yeah, Um,
Jeez.
So
yeah. I mean,
when it comes down to
a lot of
that,
bad choices.
what would be the direction that you think that they need to go? To
Well,
recoup that, because I think a while ago you was talking about them leaving and going to another MMO like Final Fantasy, or I don't even know if ESO would be like an alternative, because that's like an action type of one, where this one is more tab.
Yeah.
So what would be your input for them if they were to talk to you and say, hey, we understand how you feel, and we're still thinking about maintaining our, because it sounds like they're trying to lose that community to maybe create something different, right? Because Final Fantasy 14 is trying to go with a whole new story arc within the same universe, like brand new. So in order for a company to start over in an MMO, right, they would have to create some form of content and then basically have everybody go to the new world, right? Instead of like slowly dripping, because if you slowly drip, you're still spending money on content that's old, that doesn't generate income except for subscription base, versus new content that has the new model, i.e., Destiny's battle pass, for instance. If it has a battle pass and all these other things, intricate pieces that they've done their research and want to implement in a new WoW. I'm just saying, like, what would be your take for them on that aspect? Like, if you sat down with the devs.
I would say in the direction that they're going in, obviously they couldn't copy ESO's gameplay style because it is action based as opposed to tab target.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that they could copy how they release expansions, right? Where I think their player base has become very casual in World of Warcraft, which is not a bad thing. And you can still find ways to make the game hard for the hardcore. But what ESO does well is that each expansion doesn't really bring up the levels cap, and it doesn't make old gear irrelevant. It just makes it like where you have more choices in customizing your character. And I think World of Warcraft, if they don't want to do a hard reset like how Final Fantasy has, because when you look at even their choices, right, of bringing Classic back, they're bringing another MMO into their sphere, right? It's still World of Warcraft, but it's the older version. It's like they still refuse to like have that hard reset. I think their smartest route would to copy ESO's style of expansions, and they could even rework their old expansions, because then that would just like instantly deliver a whole brand new wealth of content to the game, and it would bring a lot of value to the game, because there's been a lot of expansions and there's so many gear sets out there that it would get people really excited. But I do like the idea of what Final Fantasy 14 has done, because it's a very bold move, and it's not bad either, because you're still going to benefit from the older stuff that you've done before. And it's the same thing when you look at Phantasy Star Online 2. They've chosen to do this also with New Genesis, where it's going to be 2 active games where you can still play the old Phantasy Star Online 2 and play the new one, and interact with each other to an extent. I think that's kind of the way forward for a lot of games in general when it comes to the MMO sphere, or the ESO model, like I said, where you're kind of having everything still be relevant. It's just that the developers are trying to find ways to balance all the gear sets, so it's more about customizing your character as opposed to making everything in the old stuff just to pass and not like worth anything.
Gotcha.
In my opinion,
Gotcha.
you gotta choose which way they want to go. because I think that their model that they're in right now has um is just out of date. You know,
Hmm.
it's an old model that just kind of has to die now.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's sad to say.
So other than WoW, what else has been at the forefront for Dio?
Um, this is kind of funny. This is not directly gaming news, but I mean, you know the comedian Bill Maher, right?
Okay.
On his show, I mean, I like him. I think he is funny to an extent. I mean, he's no George Carlin. I prefer George Carlin overall, but he has his viewpoints that are really good. But it feels like as he gets older, he keeps getting like these hot takes that he just doesn't understand, or I don't know if he's bitter or what, but he literally said on the show, people watching other people play video games is a waste of effing time.
Hmm.
And he's not wrong. I mean,
Tell-
watching
tell
people
that to
on
me.
Twitch, watching people on YouTube is a waste of time. It's entertainment, right? You're not getting any value out of it. You're doing it to relax, to have fun. But that's also his profession too. He's a comedian. Watching him is literally a waste of time as well. So it's so weird to like not have. Like, he's a smart man. So like for him to say something so hypocritical is just so weird to me because I looked at him as a person of like reason. So it's just I just found that kind of funny, and I think he's gonna get a lot of backlash, and I don't think he has a lot of young people following him or anything like that. But I think this is definitely gonna deter a lot of people. I mean, honestly, if he went onto Twitch, you'd probably see a good number of people anyway, on it, because
Yeah.
Twitch is not even just for gaming anymore. I mean, you see these hot tub streams and everything.
Oh
now,
yeah, they're all
you know?
over the place. It's crazy.
People
I remember
watching
I
you
logged on
sleep.
the Twitch once. And it was on my homepage. Like, what the heck is this? People have got like 15,000 followers, and they're just sitting in a hot tub. It's insane.
Yeah,
They're hoping that
people exercising and all
they're
kinds of
hoping that he
stuff.
gets out
Right?
the tub.
I mean, not to get any like really explicit. I mean, but there's some streams that you can't even tell if it's a OnlyFans or if it's a Twitch.
Right?
It's like what's going on
100%.
here?
Yeah.
It's insane. It's,
Well,
it's insane, man.
Because those people who do OnlyFans are on Twitch, and
That's
they're,
true.
they're
Yeah, man.
promoting. They're trying to promote their OnlyFans links.
Yeah, cross promote.
Yeah.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah.
I mean, hey, good on them. I just that I think it's and that's a whole different conversation, right? Like how hypocritical Twitch itself can be
Mhm.
with their terms of service.
Right.
Like you have someone who says something a little edgy or whatever, and then they get banned like right away, and then you have some girl, like I said, like looks like it's an OnlyFans site, but she's still able to stream. I don't get it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird because I think Twitch and their algorithms look at the revenue stream, and then they kind of make decisions from that perspective. Like if this person brings in hundreds of thousands of people, right?
Yep.
How many commercials are people watching, and how many money
Yeah,
are you
true.
making?
But what's gonna bring money to the platform, right?
Yeah. And
Mhm.
if someone has understood the system and played the game appropriately, then those, let's say someone's a porn star, right? They don't have to do much. People who know them will be going by their name. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
And then people who don't know them would then understand who they are without revealing much. Like, there are people who they will go on Twitch and they would go shopping, they will sleep, and you watch them sleep. They do like
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they do like caricature stuff. They do DIY stuff. You know what I'm saying? So there's like more than one way to be a Twitch star.
Yeah,
It's
for sure.
just how does Twitch value that person, that entity, that content, right? And then can it be monetized? And if it could be monetized, so as a business, if Dio did something right on Twitch, I have to think about how much people.
Dio is a hot tub streamer on Twitch, right?
And is he generating the amount of funds needed for us to survive? Because Twitch is no YouTube. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, not yet.
And then the next thing is based on, let's say he's a partner. how many partnerships are willing to utilize his content to post their ads on? Every 30 minutes there's an ad, you know, that you can elect to, like Dio can elect to have ads on his stream. So every 30 minutes to the hour, boom, this pops up, he gets paid, Twitch gets paid, you know what I'm saying, this type of thing. So it's about those things, and it's unfortunate that certain businesses have to implement such practices to survive, because without those, I don't think Twitch would be anything but just a place that people can stream without any form of revenue behind. Outside of YouTube, YouTube can depend completely on search engine optimization. And that in of itself will be gold for anyone. So that's why we're here on YouTube.
True.
Awesome. But Dio, PlayStation and the Apple situation, or is it Epic?
It's Epic. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, well,
Sony just
it
got
came
caught
up
across
because of Apple. Yeah, exactly. Like Sony's over here minding their own business, you know, doing whatever they're doing, and then their dirty dirt just comes out of nowhere. You know what I mean? So
right.
All of a sudden, you feel this heavy breeze between your legs. It's like, what just happened?
Yeah, that's like the anime when the guy sneezes because someone's talking about them.
Exactly.
That's like exactly what happened.
Yeah. So
like Sony sneezing like crazy at the moment.
So apparently, Sony was charging devs, and this is every dev, even first party dev.
That's insane.
That they had to pay for crossplay. Now, crossplay is a generic term, because Xbox can have crossplay with 360, Xbox Original, Xbox One. And then you have the Series S, Series X. That's kind of like cross-play. And then you have cross-play where you have all platforms playing together. Yeah. Right? So when somebody says, "Oh, I have cross-play," you have to request some form of being specific on to what platforms are we cross-playing to. Because Switch, 9 times out of 10 are left out for some reason. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like PlayStation's there, Xbox is there, PC's there, but where's Switch?
I mean, Switch has a lot of crossplay, but the games that they don't have crossplay usually because of limitations of the system, right? I don't think it's because Nintendo's being jerks about it. It's just that Switch
they believe in their community too. They believe in their community, and they want to preserve that community. So if let's say,
I would honestly say I think there's more Switch crossplay than there's Sony crossplay.
Okay.
If I had to guess,
probably.
Okay.
It's just that, like I said, like it's the limitations of the Switch. Like Nintendo has actually gotten a lot better when it comes to stuff like that. I mean, I can't really complain too much about Nintendo at the moment. To tell you the truth.
But it's just interesting because even news about how Xbox had to play the game of crossplay within that discussion, right? And it's kind of weird because Epic kind of called out on Microsoft, and Microsoft made it free. But then Epic still had to pay PlayStation. And I think that's where, if we remember back in the day, Xbox was there, PC was there. I think even Switch was there, but then PlayStation was still holding back. And we don't know. It could have been that fight where they didn't want to pay. Was it $200 million or less? I'm not sure what it was. What's the number for that? I'm not sure what the number was, but it was up there.
I'm not sure the number, but I know the excuse at the time was that PlayStation didn't want to expose their audience to other people and have any liability for it. That was their big excuse. Like they were trying to say like Xbox and PC and Switch players are more toxic than their players, pretty much.
And we're still seeing the toxicity on Twitter, right? And we see how everything that's new that goes on Xbox, it has getting like a Metacritic score of 65. Like done. You know, 85 at the least. But then the PlayStation stuff is kind of like up there, like on the 95s and 98s and stuff. And then I have to ask myself, like, who does this? Who sits at these tables and say, okay, PlayStation game, all hundreds, right? Xbox game, okay, we have to get in. We gotta check their resolution. We gotta check their player base. We gotta make sure. You know what I'm saying? I can understand if a game is crappy.
It's different kind of scrutiny, right?
You say it's crappy and you give your explanation, but then when you hate a platform, you dislike a platform, or somebody pays you to do something specific, that's why, like, right now I don't even look at Metacritic from the branding perspective. I look at the user base. I'm trying to find out what the user base is saying, and I'm trying to see what people are streaming the most on. Because Returnal came out.
Yep.
And people are saying it's a great game. But Returnal is going through somewhat the same situation that Cyberpunk is going through, where the saves are getting corrupted.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Games are crashing consoles, things of that nature. And speaking about that, no disrespect to the devs who made this game, but yesterday I bought Hood, Outlaws, stuff like that. And I was like, I'm a because that was gonna be today's video, right? Was Outlaw. And so finally got home because I had it downloading. I purchased it and I had it downloaded into the Xbox, right? And then when I put the game on, it says I am not a permitted user to play.
Wow.
So I was like, I posted it on Twitter and got no responses. So then I started doing the whole thing. So here's my mistakes. So the game was downloading. It hit that pinnacle point where it says you can now play the game even though it was still downloading.
Yep.
So I said,
okay.
So I said, okay, cool, let me do that. So I played the game to at least get through the introduction of the game, right? Yeah. And I started playing the game, and then I lost complete internet access on the Xbox. I walked outside. The kids, they're watching YouTube. Wife is watching stuff on Netflix, and I'm like, what the heck? My phone has internet, and everything. So I'm like, okay, what's going on, right? And then after that, I resetted the Xbox, and then I started getting that player not permitted, to play whatever. The permissions wise, almost like as though somebody bought the game, allowed me to play on my Xbox, but then because I don't own the license digitally. That type of vibe.
Yeah, it's not registering you as like the actual owner of the game.
So I had to do what we did for Outriders. Deal. Turn off the Xbox. Unplug the Xbox. Reset the Xbox from the power. Plug the Xbox
like proper hard reset.
Yeah, I'm talking about making sure there's no electricity on that box, and then power it back on. Boom, it's letting me in. You know what I'm saying? I said, okay, cool. Yeah. Got that fixed. So I started playing the introduction. Introduction is cool. And then I finally got to the end. And then it made the most annoying sound and shut the Xbox off completely.
Really?
I was like, okay, for all the if the things happened before didn't happen and this happened, I'll be like, okay, I understand. You know what I'm saying? I'll do the tutorial over and then try again. But when you go through hoops to start a game,
just for that to happen. Yeah.
And then you play the game and it shuts you down, it's kind of like, ugh.
Not even shuts the game. It's just a hard crash the console.
Yeah. We're talking about a full reboot, and then you get the boot animation, and the whole nine.
God dang.
So, I'm afraid to say this, but I'm gonna wait until it goes to Game Pass if it does, because to me, I bought the year one edition, the $49.99. It's $39.99 now, and then an extra $10 gets you the year one pass, and I wanted to, because I'm a type of person that if I love a game, I want to know that I bought everything. You know what I mean? Like I want to get everything and be done with it, right? And it was as I played through the tutorials, like I was getting into it, and then it just crashed. And I was like, I can't do this forever. Cyberpunk did its thing. Outriders did its thing. So I was like, done. Every game that comes through, you have to be on point. You can't be coming to me being like, it's going to be the best of the best, and then it crashes the system. It's not a good deal for me. So even if I love you, you're going into the bin, and returning you back. I've never been that type of person before until Cyberpunk and until like Anthem and Outriders.
Yeah, I think the industry is kind of moving to this point now where it's like people aren't settling for just half-baked products anymore.
Yeah, I think for older gamers it's easier to do that because you still remember cartridge games, right? And not to say they didn't have bugs, but for the most part they were fully finished games, and bugs usually were fun things back in those days, right? Like there were codes like, to make you strong or whatever, right? Yeah. They weren't game breaking. So it's nice to see the younger generation start to catch up in that respect. But it kind of sucks because a lot of these kids have never probably played a proper release of a game, either. So
everything's kind of, we'll slap an update on it later.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing with that, because that's so PlayStation.
And I'm not gonna shit on every game. I'm just saying like a majority of these games are coming out.
There's a lot of games like that.
Well, let's talk about this for a sec. PlayStation has decided that they wanted to redesign their console.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because of, I guess, what is it? What's because of sales? Because of what?
From my understanding,
Mm-hmm.
put on my notes here. It wasn't. I believe from what I read online, it was a case of fabrication, just to try and make it easier to increase the supply versus demand they've got now.
So they're choosing a different manufacturer.
Yeah, I think I'm not a super techie guy when it comes to this, but I believe that they're shrinking their 7 nanometer chip down to a 6 nanometer chip.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're choosing a different chip supplier too. I think that should theoretically make it easier to increase the supply.
So they're leaving AMD?
I believe so. But don't quote me on that.
That's interesting. Well,
See, I was going to ask you, was it a cosmetic change or was it like a hardware change?
I don't think so.
I
think it's just a hardware change. I don't think there's going to be any cosmetic differences or any like performance differences.
Okay.
I think it's just a case of trying to increase that supply. Though, I don't know if this has anything to do with the hardware set particularly, but I think there does need to be some infrastructure change within the PS5. There's a lot, especially recently, there's been a lot of talk about the 120 FPS standard,
boost.
Between Xbox and PS5 right now, and PS5 severely lacking in that department.
Well,
because that kind of sucks for the people who bought it already, right?
Well, but the FPS was 120 a selling point for any of the consoles day one? Because I don't think
for
so.
some people, yes.
I mean, they didn't.
I know my buddy
Mm-hmm.
was really disappointed when he found out that what's that one, Rocket League?
Yeah.
Wasn't running at 120 like how Xbox does.
Yeah.
But
I believe it's Rocket League.
He was pretty extra upset.
Well, here's what I'm
why
saying.
They couldn't do it.
Here's what I'm asking is, was it the highlights of the consoles? Because
I believe it was one of them. It was one of the points. Yeah.
Because
I think, to tell you the truth, Bonix, I think most people oversold it in their head. Like they're looking at these consoles like to be like, and I think we kind of do this every console cycle, where it's like, oh, this is like the future. Like there's people who literally think that these consoles are. I mean, it's a great deal, right, hardware wise. But there's a lot of people who think that these are on par with like the best of what you could get as a PC, and it's not. It's really good hardware, but it's not at that point. But I mean, it makes sense at the price point you're getting. But for that price, you're getting a very, very good deal. But just people are overselling it in their heads. They think that these things are stronger than they are. That's the problem. At least in
So
my opinion, from what I see people writing and posting, you know.
okay, so because the thing about it, when reading about the issue, when Xbox needs to push 120 frames, it's like an update, but it's not a like
a report, I guess.
you know what I'm saying? With the PlayStation 5, you have to, it's like the games themselves have to be ported in.
Yeah.
So the console for the Xbox pushes the games to 120 FPS. With the PlayStation 5, is leaving it up to the devs
Just develop it exclusively for
Right.
the console rather than
Yeah.
to port the feature into.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's where it's becoming a little bit of a disparity because or becoming an issue because these guys are going to expect almost every game to be 120 when it's not. Like there's only a select few games that has 120 on the 5, whereas I think it's 11 or more. I think it's more than 11. Give me a second.
I just think that your casual gamer, and I mean that's what most people who buy a console are, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that your most average gamer is not gonna know that. They hear what the caps are for these systems, and they think that that's what it is on everything.
Well,
they're not thinking
they don't
that.
have the TV set up for 120.
And there's that too.
And 4K
Yeah.
and
There's plenty of them who don't have that, and they don't understand that stuff, you know.
yeah.
And in a way, it makes sense that Sony's doing that. And I'm not saying that I don't like that idea of that. I think that they should be doing what Xbox is doing from that perspective. But I understand why they're doing it, and I understand why they think they could get away with it. You know, they've sold so many PS4s and they sold so many PS5s that they know that there's an established market there where they've had like almost, I don't want to say a chokehold, but there are a lot of people who are just going to stick with it out of brand loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
And these companies know that, hey, I still want these people to be playing my games, so I'm going to conform to what they want, you know, which is kind of scummy in my opinion. But
do you think that Sony, or I should say PlayStation, know who their fan base is compared to their casual base? Because if their casual base takes up 80% of the sales of PS4, that 80%, it can be easily swayed in this next generation.
oh yeah, I mean, I think they do. I mean, look at their first party games. They're all like playable movies. So I think they know that their player base is casual. There's not that much PvP when it comes to the. I mean, I think most people who buy a PlayStation don't buy it for PvP games and competitive gameplay. They buy it just to
it definitely doesn't seem like
relax.
that.
Well,
Yeah.
but PlayStation.
First party
I'm sorry.
roster, anyway.
I'm sorry. Hold on to that one. But the PlayStation has always had games of cinematic value, meaning of its time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? PlayStation
Sure.
2, 3, 4, now 5, right? They've had that.
Yep.
So, you know, the hardcore people to me are not. I am not saying that they're not hardcore gamers, right? I'm just saying that they are more tied to the console than the games themselves. You know what I mean? So like when you look at the casual people who jumped ship from 13, like on 2013, people who didn't know gaming or people who was on the Xbox because they lived throughout that 360 time frame, looking at the Xbox One and be like, okay, this might be my next one, and saw everything shift to the PS4. You know what I'm saying? Now everything has been PS4 since then. Marketing, sales, boom, 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 boom. Now PS5 comes out, and PS5 can't hold a candlestick to the Xbox Series X or S. You know, it's kind of.
I think that was more of like a fear thing, because I think Xbox One was ahead of its time where it came to like the whole home entertainment system and everything digital, like all that stuff, like just scared a lot of players away because they were caught up in, hey, I want my. I think that was the biggest thing. Everyone wanted their physical copy, but they didn't realize that's not what they wanted. You know what I mean? Because I mean, I think most players buy stuff digital now.
Right.
You know,
Well,
And I think that was the main turning point. And it sucks because I think most people, when they first hear something, they just think that, right? Like, I mean, Final Fantasy 14 is a good example. There's still people to this day who think Final Fantasy 14 as an MMO is a terrible game, and it's not. It's a good game. Is it for everybody? No, of course not. No game is for everybody. But it's not what it was when it launched. That's why it's
right,
called Reborn.
right.
You know, and I think so. I think the Xbox One suffered from that because it was still stuck in a lot of casual players. Because a lot of casual players will not read articles. They won't go on forums, and they won't see how things have changed. And
Yeah,
then
no, definitely not.
yes, since they switched to PS4, and they did it because they didn't want to lose their physical games, but they ended up buying in the marketplace. So now they're not leaving PS4 for Xbox Series X because I already have all these digital games on the PS4, so I want to play them on my PS5. So
Right.
they're stuck there now.
Right.
I think that's the problem with a lot of them. So
What were you gonna say,
it's
Yeah,
John?
a weird
it's
thing.
just that jumping off point there that they're not ready to switch
Yeah.
through.
And it's funny too because I mean, if you talk to most of these players, and I say even myself, I mean, do you really play games that you had like 5-10 years ago? Maybe once in a while, but is it enough not to like just jump ship and go somewhere else where you're getting a better deal or you're getting better quality? Like, of course not. You shouldn't just stay loyal out of like you know like thinking that you're gonna lose something, and you're not losing anything because you're still gonna be playing the newer things. I mean, I think that's
Mhm.
a big problem a lot of MMO players have also is that they'll stick to like World of Warcraft, for example, right?
Mhm.
Even though they hate World of Warcraft of where it's going at the moment, but they
Mhm.
just because it's like they feel like, oh, I committed all
Investments.
this time to it already. I don't
Mhm.
want to start over in another MMO and then have to catch up and do all these things. Like it's just a vicious cycle when it comes to a lot of these things. It's really sad.
Wow. So I mean, Sony's just gotta do what they gotta do, man, because they got the restock disaster, so they're thinking about altering the design scope of the PlayStation 5. So there's some news on that. I'm gonna drop that into the chat here. Um, and then even Sniper Ghost Warrior Contract 2, the PS5 version has been delayed. Now we're talking PS5, we're not talking PS4. The game is ready for PS4, Xbox One, Series S, Series X, and if they have anything for Switch and stuff, I mean for PC, they're on task. But something specific to PS5, they have to delay the game. And I'm gonna drop that into the chat as well, so you guys can take a look at that as well. I mean, these guys meaning like the community out there who's interested on learning some more on what's going on. Yakuza, if you're watching us right now, this video is Judgment, and my goodness, if Hood did not catch me in the beginning, this game sure has. I've been watching some not anime. I've been watching some Korean drama. Now this is Japanese, but I tell you what, the stuff that are going on in this show reminds me of some of the Korean dramas that I've been seeing, and I'm like, I'm all sucked in. I'm more into the cinematics than the game itself. It feels good. I mean, you're actually in the story. But anyways, so Yakuza has decided that moving forward, the series Like a Dragon will continue to be turn-based. They are not turning back. The reason being is because Yakuza from the from the beginning up until I think it's 4, right? Because 5 is Like a Dragon, or is it 6?
I think it's 6 of them before that came out.
Okay. So everything that dealt with the actual Yakuza and the main star and his I don't know if his daughter or somebody was taking care of with the baby. I don't know. I have to play the game. Anyways.
Yeah.
Anyways, all that is moving towards Judgment. So the Yakuza that you know before coming up until Like a Dragon, that is a separate series. That is like a legacy of its own. That is staying the way it is. They're not touching that anymore. Like a Dragon is a brand new series that's going to be turn-based, and they're going to move forward with that in that direction. That's why they made sure Like a Dragon was kind of like emphasized. Judgment is a separate Yakuza style or Yakuza series, specifically from a detective perspective, that will inherit the old Yakuza fighting style, which is what you're seeing now. Here's the thing. Judgment is a PlayStation exclusive game that has now been ported over to the consoles. I'm not going to say Xbox Series X, because I don't think it's only on Xbox Series S and X. I think it's went to PC and everything else. And Lost Judgment is the next one that's coming out this summer, fall timeframe. Is a sequel, and it will be released on all consoles.
Sweet.
I am telling you guys, I have never seen a game with so many stars. It's a little bit of feedback, but every one of them is 5 stars. And I am liking it. I am definitely liking it. So I will be playing this more often. Definitely.
Really?
I am telling
I've
you.
always wanted to play this one.
It's $39.99.
Playing it so far, do you feel like it's more serious as opposed to Yakuza? Because it looks more serious to me.
By serious, what do you mean? Because I think Yakuza is serious.
Yakuza can have its serious moments, but I think for the most part, it has a lot of goofiness to it, right?
Oh, okay, gotcha. This one is kind of like what is the name of that game?
Shenmue.
Definitely Shenmue. Shenmue. But think of Shenmue plus what's that Chinese one?
Sleeping Dogs?
Think Sleeping Dogs.
Okay.
Right? Not as, because Sleeping Dogs has its own taste and feel to it, right? This one is kind of like you are the character, and you are, because Sleeping Dogs felt like if a Japanese company or a Chinese company made if they made GTA. Yeah. Sleeping Dogs is that. Right. The only difference is there's no multiplayer, and well, I might be wrong, but so far it's been primarily a single player experience. So if Shenmue, Sleeping Dog, and there's another game is a Japanese type of game, a little bit dated, but I can't remember. This game reminds me of that, and it's real nice because it's just so story driven, and it has the elements of Yakuza in it, but it also has like some other inspirations that you would probably identify with some other Japanese games prior to the Yakuza series in it. It's just it's there. You can watch it. It's there. But
compared to like Yakuza, you say it's like more immersive.
It's
because of the story and everything.
Yeah. Now you can quote me and not quote me because I'm still trying to get into Yakuza as a series, but there has been some other fighting games, and it gets you in that vibe where you just want to keep fighting and you just want to keep knowing what's going on and who's doing what. Think of you yourself as a detective where you're trying to find out, who's killing who and figuring out the clues, and at the same time you're working for the Yakuza as a detective, and at the same time you're a lawyer who understands law, in the court of law, right?
Yeah.
So you're like a renegade. You're like this dude who nobody wants to mess. Yeah, like if Dio, if you're like the godfather of Yakuza, right? You picked me up from my lowest point, and you said, you're gonna work for me now. Nobody's gonna mess with you. You're gonna be like, okay, because you can't say no.
Yeah.
You can't say no. I'm just painting a story. It might not be completely that way, but from what I've felt so far in the game, that's the feeling I get. And not even some of the lords, if you will. Like, there's a person that you meet in the game that stands up for you, but they do it only because the person above them recommends you.
Yeah.
Right? So they can't mess with you. And if anybody messes with you as the character, they'll step in and be like, yo, you messing with family. You know what I mean? So it's pretty cool. It's pretty gangster, man. I like it. Anyways, so that's Yakuza. That's Judgment.
Yeah.
And the sequels for Yakuza moving forward will be turn-based, kind of like Yakuza Like a Dragon. Hideo Kojima has put out a book called The Creative Gene.
Oh. Okay.
It is right now on Amazon for 20% off in the UK.
Oh.
Oh, look at that. We got an O. Okay. We got an O, Don. No, I'm Dio.
Okay.
We got an O. And it's 10%.
What's this book about?
And it's 10% in America. Now, it's basically Hideo Kojima's inspirations, experiences in the game industry and stuff like that. What he enjoyed watching, listening to, maybe playing as well. So okay. I'm gonna drop that article here, so you guys can check it out.
Like a insight into what
more like a biography of himself.
Yeah, like
as a developer. Yeah, not like I was born on this day to a mother of this.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, not like a book of his life story, but kind of what kind of inspired him, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, playing the Metal Gear Solid games while growing up and everything, I've always felt like his storytelling is great. I mean, not to say that he's limited himself with just gaming, but I would definitely love to see him do a movie or a series on top of gaming still. I'll definitely
that would be interesting. Yeah,
it's only $20.
Yeah,
so I mean that's definitely worth it. I think, especially
not
for
to
people
mention,
who are creative
not to mention that it is a pre-order. You're pre-ordering it and it's going to release in October. So since it's with Amazon, if you pre-order now and the price drops, then the percentage also is applied to the price drop.
Okay.
So you will always still benefit from not paying the original fee of the book if it would release without you doing a pre-order. So it's something worth looking at. Definitely.
For sure.
Limited Run Games is now an official Xbox partner. Limited Run Games is the people who bring the physical versions of digital games to the masses. So
cool.
I'm gonna put that also in the discussion in the chat. So anybody interested in that?
That's pretty cool because I think that gives like a lot of potential for a lot of these indie game developers who are on Game Pass to have their games released.
Yeah,
that's a good point actually.
Yeah,
I thought about that.
The Witcher game developer quits the company over bullying claims. I'm just stating this. I'm gonna put this in the community chat here only because it's another thing for Cyberpunk. It's there.
Yeah.
We're not gonna talk about
it.
It's
I think that's kind of funny because like I'm looking at an article right now on Stadia and it's like Stadia. And it has like Cyberpunk there, so it's like two failures right in the same page. Crazy.
No, Cyberpunk Stadia is a console. Oh gosh.
I mean, if you could call it that, I guess.
It's a console.
It's something. That's what it is.
It's a streaming device that's supposed to allow you to play any game that is licensed to play on that piece of hardware.
It's an overpriced Roku. That's what it is.
It's a.
Yeah, he said it.
Oh,
he said it.
All right. So, guys, it's been awesome. This has been the podcast, the Digital Cypha Podcast. You have heard the Don CJG at his best. Dio Zale's at his best. Well, maybe hopefully in the future it'll be better. You know, because he's dropping like bombs to like look.
Ooh.
I'm afraid for some of these devs to be up in the chat like
He's
so
swinging.
Dio.
He's
Look,
out swinging.
You're
Right
like,
now.
you're like the devs comes in like look, I'm EA. I want to speak to Dio. And Dio be like, yeah, bring it on. Let's go. You know,
Ryan comes on the podcast and Dio's guys are wrapped up. He's ready.
I'm gonna have to be like, okay, I'm gonna talk to this guy. I'm gonna tell this guy, okay, here's our Discord channel. I'm gonna put you in a private room with Dio, and you guys can hash it out because I'm sure Dio got words.
Yo, I ain't joining that chat. I'm not joining.
Dio got words.
I mean, it's just opinions, and I mean, hopefully, if something like that were to ever happen, we could see eye to eye and make things better. That's all I would care about. I don't mean any disrespect to devs or even leadership or anything like that. I just want to see games go back to what it used to be like,
Well,
where
it's the truth.
you were excited, you
Mhm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
It's the truth because they need to start listening. They need to be.
Need to hear it, man.
Yeah.
Gosh, truth
Yeah.
You know,
sometimes.
now the only reason why I mentioned Dio because Dio's not afraid to tell you what it is. You know what I'm saying? So, and he knows more. And like I'm a game player. I just play games. This guy, he gets in and he studies and he knows what he's getting into and da 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 da. He looks at the devs, he looks at the developers, he looks at the company, see what they're about, and see if they're worth investing in. Like he thinks on the bigger scope. Where I look at the game, oh, it's cool, bye. Deals on the other hand be like, oh, it's this company. Let's see, what did they do like 2 years ago? Oh yeah, they did this. I'm not getting that game. They're a sucky company. They're gonna like 2 years down the line, they're gonna bleed everybody down. He looks at it from an analytical perspective. He sees 2 years from now they're gonna throw this at you, and you're gonna think nothing of it. You're gonna buy it, and then they're not gonna support it anymore. I don't want that, so I'm not gonna invest. So yeah. So hey, it is what it is. So this is Ebonics, alongside with Dio and the Don C's AG. This is the Digital Cypha Podcast, and we thank you for being a part of it. And we will be here again next week. Have a great day, guys. Be safe.
Thank you.
Peace.